Good evening, Melbourne. Welcome to the show. I'm Michael Kuzilny. It's tough times never last, but tough people do. If you're going through a tough time at the moment, God bless you. I hope things get much better soon. I mean, just have a look at the state of the earth at the moment. People dying in New Zealand, earthquakes overseas, Japan, and you know, I read the other day 11,000 children die every hour from health-related diseases in third world countries. You know, so I've worked out it's really part of the human condition, isn't it? We all go through tough times, whether it's depression, alcohol, drug abuse. Then, of course, mum and dad are going to die. We go through separations. On the couch tonight, Kelvin Onus King. He certainly shared his fair share of tough times, but he's a top bloke, and I like you, mate. You're straight down the line. You know, I'm not into all these pretentious people, Kelvin, who tell you what they want to hear. You know, you're the real deal, aren't you?
Well, I'd like to think I am, and thank you very much for having me on the show. And indeed, it is a pleasure to meet you and staff members around here. It's a fantastic atmosphere. But yeah, you're right there. I've had a bit of a different life, but a life that has been rewarding for me as I sit here. Amazing.
And it sounds like you've worked out a system how to deal with all those tough issues, because people can be quite mean, can't they? There's a lot of lovely people out there, but also a lot of shit people, isn't there? I mean, it starts at school, yep. all the bullying. It's almost like they see a weakness in somebody, and it's that gang behaviour, isn't it? If you're a little bit different, you know, you're a bloody wog, you're this, you're a bloody Aboriginal. You know, tell us about all that crap you went through.
Well, unfortunately, I was actually separated from my family when I was 4 years of age.
Yes.
And ended up being with a non-Aboriginal family for the next 10 years. And that sort of displaced me from the Aboriginal community to a large degree. Very little connection, in fact, no connection with the Aboriginal community in that period.
Did you have some connection at the start?
No, in fact it was very cut and dry. There was no connection, no gradual displacement from family. It was just taken away and cut, as many thousands of others suffered as well.
And I suppose as a kid you wanted to be a true blue non-Aboriginal kid, but you wanted to fit in, didn't you?
Well, every kid wants to fit in, and it was for the first 6 months of being away from family. I think there wouldn't have been a day where I didn't cry for family or didn't cry for my mum.
Yes.
And that's a natural process for a child to go through. But it's the environment that you're actually in that you have to deal with. And there was some cruel kids when I was going to school, in terms of when they found out that I was Aboriginal, there was all hell broke loose at one stage. But
what did they call you? What sort of names?
Look, it was fashionable to be called either a bung or a coon at that time, but there were other names like nigger, and nigger really struck me. But you can't measure which name is worse, of course.
How old were you then, Kelvin? How old were you?
Well, the very first time that I struck racism in the education system, I think when I was 6 years of age, and the suspicion that I was an Aboriginal person was being discussed, and the person who actually came up to me and asked me if I was Aboriginal was the toughest kid in the school, if you could imagine, type thing, at 6 years of age, of course. But I actually opted out not to call myself an Aboriginal person. My first response was that I was a Greek person, because I opted out to be called a wog. I would rather have been called a wog than a bung or a coon or a nigger. So that was really sad, and I didn't have the tools to actually defend my Aboriginality, defend what I had. Even though that I actually possessed this really great quality of culture in me, I didn't know how to defend it.
And did you then make friends with some of the kids at school, or did you move schools a few times?
Well, I spent all of my primary school at Pascoe Vale South Primary School.
Yeah.
And there was only one friend that I actually had during that whole period, and he ended up, well, he lived in the same street as me.
Yeah.
And he had a very sad story too. His father was a bookmaker who ended up, he committed suicide, unfortunately. And he was very isolated in his family as well. He was the only son out of 5 daughters and all that sort of stuff. So we sort of aligned ourselves together, but he was the only friend that I had basically for those 10 years.
And Kelvin, when you got home, usually when kids go through a bit of a tough time at school, there's a loving home environment, but you didn't have that either, did you? Look,
that was really unfortunate that at that time mainstream non-Aboriginal society had no idea on how to deal with Aboriginality. And the first time that I copped racism at school and started to announce my Aboriginality, I was highly upset to the point where I actually ran home, and upon telling my foster parents that I'd been subjected to some racism at school, I was actually told that I was a naughty kid because I chose the wrong people to hang around. So in fact, I got the blame for the abuse of racism that I copped. From that point on, I knew that I could not run home and tell them at any stage at all. So for the rest of my time with them, any racist situation that I came across, unfortunately, I couldn't talk to anyone about it. So there came a stage when you said enough is enough, and you took off somewhere, did you? You ran away? Yeah, the people that I was with were caring in their own way. I had a really warm home. I had clean clothes all the time, not fashionable clothes, but they were clean. And I actually had food every day, and wasn't subjected to, you know, social misbehaviour and all of those sorts of things. But they didn't understand culture, they didn't understand what was about me. And, you know, when you turn 12 or 13, you start to wonder about the rest of the world and why you are actually where you're at there and then. I questioned that, and I decided to actually abruptly leave. Commonly known as being running away. But I ran away, yes. Where did you go? I headed off to Fitzroy, knowing in the back of my mind that my family, it was common knowledge that Aboriginal people hung around Fitzroy. That was the black ghettos of Melbourne. We might talk about the black ghetto after the next break. Kelvin Onus King on the couch sharing his amazing life story, and look at him now. We'll be back very shortly.